Welcome back, Marlers. So today I've got a little bit of a special video for you guys. Going to show you a couple of things I've kind of learned looking back at the hobby. What I've got in front of me is a plane that I built coming back into the hobby about 15 years ago. So looking into what I built back then, what are some things that I can learn? I mean, what are some things that I can take away from looking at where I was 15 years ago? Well, first of all, this was not 15 years ago, and then I made another build 14 and a half years ago that was just so much better, to be on par with winning awards or getting a lot of oohs and ahs on Facebook or some kind of whatever your level of good is when it comes to building a model. So did that even happen within a year? No, not even remotely close. So with that, being good at something doesn't come overnight. Okay. Another observation that I found when I came into picking up this stuff from storage is when I built this, I had just as much fun with this build as I did with what I'm finishing right now. So that's really what it comes down to, is just enjoying what you do, right? And so that perspective comes in very, very important, is to understand why you're doing this. We're doing this for fun. Nobody's doing this just because somebody just decided to pay him $1,000 all of a sudden to build a plane, and they don't have any experience with modeling, and they're just like, okay, well, let me learn a few things and I'll build you one. Right? It's more of a pastime that we have. So we have that kind of perspective that we're doing that. The other thing that helps out with that is when we build something like this, it's best to not compare ourselves to somebody that has been doing this their whole entire life and feeling miserable because what you built did not stack up. Okay? Do I compare myself to other people, though? Yes, but try to do it in a healthy manner, not so much like, oh, mine sucks compared to his or what, something like that. But oh my goodness, that looks amazing. There's a Spitfire photo that I saw on online on a couple of groups this week that looked fantastic. Now, I could dwell on it and I can go, oh my goodness, mine looks nothing like that. It's trash. Oh my goodness. I could do something like that. That wouldn't be very healthy. But what I can do is I can take a look at his and go, okay, let me pick one thing from that I'm going to try to put into my current build. So I'm trying to replicate what he has with exhausts. So I'm looking at to that. So that is the next part to it. The other thing that was a lesson from humility here, looking at my old work, is if I was talking to myself 15 years ago, what conversation would I have about the build? Okay. Well, it's very easy to find things that are wrong. I mean, just for fun, let's kick into that a little bit. So, like, the decals are, skewed. Lining up of stuff is just atrocious. Obviously, I painted this with a Harry stick. The weathering is just not there. Some of the stuff that I tried to do with the gun barrels, I know what I was trying to do, but it didn't happen. We got on the bottom, some of this is repairs, but we get into some glue marks and seam lines and all of that. So would I go to myself 15 years ago and just tear myself apart and show all the weaknesses of this? That's not good either. What I want to do is go in and just kind of, point out something that we can improve on, right? And I'd be like, speaking to something in there. Maybe, you're really good with the seam lines, but there's a few things that I noticed that would help out with the seams and give some pointers onto that. The hardest part of all of it is probably finding something that I did like. That took a couple of minutes of looking through. Overall, I was surprised at the decals. I was expecting copious amounts of silvering everywhere. That was my expectation on it. And it's better than I thought. The other thing that I would say to myself as a pat on the back is I attempted to do weathering. So this was early on coming back into all this, and I did attempt to do some weathering. And that speaks for itself a little bit, and not everybody wants to, jump in and try some of those things. So I did take a step out of my comfort zone and try to, make it a little bit more weathered and realistic. And I see some of the things that I attempted with, but I didn't get there. So I would congratulate myself for, trying to accomplish some of that. The other thing that you can't see, it's all buttoned up now, but I do remember I tried playing around with running some wiring on the inside. I'm wondering if I can find a view. It's all buttoned up, I can't see. But that is something that I could talk about too, trying to add some realism like that. So that's the next thing that I would do when I talked to myself 15 years ago, what kind of critique that I would have. The next thing that I would look at, and I need to find out where I got this quote online, but it's, when you're finished changing, you're finished, right? And so I think the takeaway from it is, now, if you're just doing this as a pastime, you don't care about improving, you're just building to build, that's fine. I'm not critiquing you for that kind of choice. I mean, there's a lot of hobbies out there that it's not my main passion or anything, or I just don't care about getting any better. Do I care about getting better at golf? No. My dad might like that, but no, I really don't care, to be honest, right? So does that make me, just no, right? So there is that side. But if you are trying to improve, looking at that, asking other people for help, and getting that feedback. And so that is my lesson for humility today. So just remember, getting good at something doesn't happen overnight. Don't beat yourself up if you are not getting something that's submitted to a magazine when you've been into the hobby for a shorter period of time. And you know what? Just don't even compare yourself to other people that are on social media in an unhealthy way. So hopefully that was beneficial. I hope it didn't come off kind of like a sermon or anything like that. But that's one of the things that I've learned, and that I think if people did take that wisdom, that they would enjoy the hobby a little bit more. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you think I'm completely out of base, or if there's observations that you've taken to be able to look at. And by all means, you can trash talk this plane all you like in the comments. I accept that it's trash for missing a lot of the basics, but that's just part of life, is growing and learning, and there is a lot of things on here that I have improved over the years. Now, biggest challenge, if you want a lot of points from Mr. Wasatch here, I want you to find something that you did like out of this plane and put that in the chat too. That is even harder. Like I said, it took me a couple minutes to figure out a few things, some nice things to say about this plane. So let me know what you guys think and put into the chat. Let me know if you thought this was beneficial, and share your feedback from there. But until next time.